Hello, Patriots. You have questions, and I have answers. About a week ago, I sent out an email to my subscriber list asking if you had questions that you wanted me to weigh in on, and so today we're going to go over some of those questions. We got a couple hundred responses, and I've whittled it down to about 50, and I'm going to try to go through these as quick as possible, and we'll see what we come up with. Alright, first question. My husband and I are very well prepared. Now we're getting into the weeds on supplies and we want to have things to give or trade. What are we not thinking about that people might need or want? The not so obvious things. Okay, a quick list that I wrote down would be cheap reading glasses, those little readers that you can get at the drugstore. Books, fiction books, things that allow people to escape because you're going to have a lot of downtime most likely if stuff hits the fan, either hiding or not working. So having a nice array of fictional books might be a good escape for people. Baby wipes, pest control. Think about roaches, rats, when there's going to be a lot of garbage piling up if we don't have regular trash service. So, you know, things like mosquito nets for your face, lantern hangers, hats, socks, underwear, matches, aluminum foil, bike tire repair kits, condoms. Maybe not the best time to get pregnant. I don't know. There's an article about the Bosnian War and the 100 top things that people ran out of first and just what their experience was, because Bosnia was a regular functioning modern day city, and for over 3 years they had nothing coming in. So that article I will link to in the bottom or in the comments under this video on my YouTube channel. Next question, what are the best tips you have for new shooters? Practice, 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 either live fire and or dry fire. I would say realize that you are going to stink at first and you're going to be nervous and you're going to be shaky, and it's completely normal that for the first year of your shooting life that your safety glasses fog up because you're sweating and nervous and everything, and that's completely normal and part of the process. I got sweaty, you know, in the pits and fogged up my glasses for probably a year and a half. And I also shot in a league, so I was always being watched by my peers, and so it was kind of added pressure, which is good because you want to train under stress. And that would lead me to my next piece of advice, would be to not train only standing in a stall, standing at a stationary target, but get tactical shooting experience as soon as possible. And by tactical, I mean you are moving, the target is moving, or both are moving and you are shooting, because it is a completely different experience than shooting standing in a stall at a gun range. And my last piece of advice for new shooters would probably be just to treat your gun like it has a laser coming out of the barrel, and just never let that laser cross anything that you wouldn't want to kill. Alrighty, me and my wife have both been given an ultimatum with our jobs. Get the jab or get fired. We would lose everything if we lost our jobs. It looks like we're going to have to compromise our morals and dignity and go along with the political agenda. I'm losing sleep over this because I only have 9 years until retirement. My wife is the same. Just wondering what you and your husband would do if you were faced with this situation. Okay, so now the ante of the game is raised as of yesterday and Biden's announcement, which is completely unconstitutional, by the way, and just utter bullcrap. And everyone should just be saying no, and this would end. But since so many people will say yes, it's going to continue. I would never get the jab, ever. I'm blessed to be self-employed, and I don't take this situation lightly. I've had many of you say the same thing, that you're going to lose your job if you don't get it. And I understand the ramifications of that. That means that you're going to have to maybe sell your house or your property, that your kids can't go to school, the school that you want, like private school, that you may have to sell a car, that you're going to have to downsize your lifestyle. I get it, and I've already made sacrifices in my life because of the times we're living in. And ultimately, my answer is this. These times that we're living in are not going to get better. Trump isn't coming to save you, neither is JFK, and I don't mean to dig on that thing, but I just want to live in reality here, and things are going to get really, really tough, and extreme sacrifices are going to have to be made. I think the jab is way too risky health-wise. I think that the ramifications of getting it, we haven't even seen a tiny fraction of what it's going to do to people's health. And I would, if at all possible, avoid getting it. I made a video called Encouragement for the Worried and the Warriors about a year ago, which kind of goes into me working out like the mourning process of letting things go. And I think that will be, it was a hugely popular video. It was not planned or scripted. It was just something I felt that morning that God laid on my heart to share with y'all. And it really resonated with a lot of people. And I think that it will help you if you are scared and mourning the loss of normal life and just needing some encouragement for these times. Unfortunately, and I know this isn't what most people want to hear, but I think that the sacrifices that people are having to make right now don't even compare to the sacrifices that we're going to have to make soon in the future. Okay, how about a fun question? Let's see. My question is, do you think they have Joe Biden drugged, or do you think it's just dementia, or is he just that stupid? Well, to put it simply, I don't think that Joe Biden is running the country. I think that's other people, a team of people are running the country behind the scenes. And I am a full-on believer in the deep state and the globalist agenda and all that good stuff. So I believe that those players are running the things, and Joe Biden is a puppet that they use for their laughing pleasure. All right, next, faith without works is dead. What does this mean? Faith without works is dead. I would compare it to love without action is dead. It would be like if my husband, we got married and he continuously said, I love you, I love you, I love you, but there was zero evidence in his life that he loved me. He didn't spend time with me. He wasn't physically affectionate with me. He didn't talk about me in a kind way to other people. Basically, if he was out in public, no one would know he was even married. That's what faith without works is dead means. It means it's love without action. It means there's no evidence in somebody's life that they even believe in God or that God is a significant part of their life. Next, have you considered running for office? No, never. I have no interest in any office, big or small, and I think that God is just using me in the platform I have now, and I'm going to stick with it. All right, what are you seeing in your area as far as food shortages are concerned? I'm here in Pennsylvania. I'm seeing shortages in things like certain canned goods and processed pork products. Luckily, we have access to a local butcher for the pork type products. I'm seeing probably 5% of my grocery store that is not being stocked right now. I go up to the deli counter. There's a little notice there saying, boar's heads meats they're not going to be supplying certain products for a while because of supply chain issues. So nothing drastic or dire right now, but right now is when you should be establishing relationships with your local farmers market vendors, your local farmers and ranchers. Find the local, in any place I've ever gone to, there's a farmers market with ranchers there selling chickens and beef and lamb and pork and all that good stuff, and those are the people that you want to be connecting with right now. You don't want to be reliant 100% on your grocery store or Costco or anything like that. Also, there are some online options out there. I know there's Thrive Market. You can get some groceries off of there, but their values don't really align with mine. During the whole George Floyd thing, I know that they talked about Black Lives Matter and all this BS that have nothing to do with buying groceries, but whatever. But also, I just signed up for a service. It's called Azure Standard, Azure, and I'm going to put a link below. That's my link. I did sign up to be an affiliate because I'm like, if a company has an affiliate program, I'm just going to sign up for it, because why not earn, a couple bucks by sharing something that I believe in. But I just got my first order, and it was super cool, and it's literally like Costco met Whole Foods, and they fell in love and had a baby, and that is your standard. And they have a truck come out once a month to a delivery location near you, and you know, everybody gets their stuff off the truck, and it's like a great community, and they have lots of organic foods and prepping supplies. They even have like those 55-gallon water jugs that I talked about in my last video. It just looks like a really cool service, and you don't have to see black squares or rainbow flags or anything while you're buying bananas. Do I look cool and calm and collected? Because I literally have like sweat non-stop dripping down my back right now. God bless Texas. Anyway, okay, we have our best friends in the neighborhood. They don't prep though, and I've begun to pray for their eyes to be open, and we have some chats about prepping, but they have their minds fixed on the idea that God will provide. Any other advice other than just introducing the topic of prepping from time to time? This one is one of my pet peeves with people in the religious or Christian community. God will provide, and can He? Yes, absolutely. And I touched briefly on this in my last video about food and water prep, but I would ask them this question. So God provides, right? But so you wake up in the morning and you don't go to work because God's going to provide? You know, you don't get up and make your family dinner because God's going to provide? Like, we have a role in provision. You know, God provides, but you need to do your part. And here's my thing is, if you have the ability to prepare now, and God says to have eyes to see and ears to hear the signs and times of the season so you will know what's coming, and those signs are all over the place, and you don't heed those signs and you don't prepare, and you just stuck your head in the sand and go about your life and make money and accumulate money and everything, but you're not like buying extra food or making sure that your kids are going to have their medicines or extra underwear and socks and shoes, and you keep hearing rumors of hard times, but you don't do anything about it. Well, congratulations. Now you're going to be a huge burden to somebody else in the future. And that is not Christian, and that is not biblical. And Jesus said himself in the New Testament that if a man does not work, then that man does not eat. And I'm just telling you right now that if you see what's coming and you put your head in the sand and you don't prepare for it, shame on you. And I know that's a little harsh, but I just don't have a tolerance for people that see things coming and they're like, oh, God will provide. You have a job, you make your food, you get up in the morning and have responsibilities, because you don't just sit there like a bump on the log on your couch waiting for God to rain down provisions on you. Okay? If you can work, then you need to be working, and if you can prep, then you need to be prepping. And tell them to check out the story of Joseph in the Old Testament. Prepping, 7 years worth. Boom. Along the same lines, we have this question. What is your approach with close friends or family who think you're losing your mind for believing as you or we do? Prepping, being red-pilled, being patriots who question our lovely government, and medical advice, etc. Fortunately, my immediate family members are all aligned with me, but I do have some good friends that think I'm crazy, and they've thought that way for a long time. But as far as trying to convince them of what's going on, I've gotten to the point where I feel like time is short, and if someone hasn't seen that something is wrong in the last year and a half, then I kind of do this and move on in a loving way, and I'm always available to talk if they want to talk about it, but I think that people know where I stand, and so if they want to live life as normal and pretend that everything's going to be hunky-dory in the future, then I wish them luck with that, but I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince them otherwise, and I'm going to concentrate on helping the people that see what's happening and they want advice like y'all, and they want help, and they want to prepare in any way they can for what's coming, and I'm going to concentrate on those people, and I would suggest you do the same. All right, the next question is, what are you reading right now? I am reading the Bible, and that's that's pretty much it. I'm actually studying Revelation again. I have a different viewpoint now about the rapture and everything, and if you're a Christian, you're probably wondering what that viewpoint is, and I am pre-wrath rapture. That means that I believe that we will be going through most of the tribulation up until the point God's wrath is poured out, and at that time we will be taken out because we cannot be here for God's wrath. There's a really great video contrasting the pre-wrath position and the pre-tribulation position, which is the position that the church is taken out of trouble before it gets really tough for that 7-year period. I know this is Christianese for y'all if you don't believe in God, so just bear with me. But I will put a link again in my YouTube comment near this question for the video that I'm referring to for the pre-wrath position. So I'm reading the Bible. I want to know what's coming, and the Bible has so much wisdom in it, and so I'm kind of just soaking in the Word of God, and that is what is giving me my discernment and peace. Going along with that topic, for y'all that don't believe, here is a question for you. I enjoy your videos much of your advice, but I'm 180 degrees on a few things, and I wonder if you could comment on the dichotomy. I believe the Second Amendment as you do, but I am pro-choice, no longer believe in God, and I found your comments about church and loving everyone quite hypocritical. Your comments on the refugees, not letting them into the U.S., seem quite contrary to the loving spirit preached by your religion. Keep up the fight, but remember, your followers may not believe everything you believe. Okay, so I don't think that it's hypocritical that I say that we should be loving people, but also not letting refugees into our country at the same time. If they were refugees from Canada, I could see that because our cultures are similar. We have the same language for the most part and everything. But if you take a Middle Eastern, mostly men, who have a completely different ideology, whose religion says that they cannot assimilate and they cannot actually get along with people that think differently than them, that have a totally 180 degree view on women, and this is exemplified by the mass amount of rapes going on in places like Denmark and Germany and such, who have let immigrant men from the Middle East into their countries unchecked. I don't think it's unloving at all to keep America, America, and I'm all about keeping Mexico, Mexico, and so if we can move refugees that have a certain mindset and culture into another country nearby that have the same mindset and culture, then we should be doing that. They don't need to come here. And I don't think that's unloving at all. I think that it's wise, actually. In terms of me sharing my faith and talking about Jesus and speaking about God, that ain't gonna go anywhere. This is who I am. My faith is the foundation of who I am. It made me who I am today. It is my peace. It is my strength. God brings me wisdom. He brings me joy. And if you knew what I knew about him, you would be shouting from the rooftops as well. And I'm sorry that you don't believe. I think it takes more faith to be an atheist than it does to be a Christian, honestly. But to me, creation shouts his name. I see his fingerprints on everything. I can speak of what he's done in my life. I know countless people whose lives have been changed through their faith in Christ. I am going to shout him from the rooftops. I believe that we are going into hard times. I know it's happening biblically, and that's what allows me to be able to see things that maybe other people don't see, obviously. And it's just not going to go anywhere. And if it makes you uncomfortable, feel free to fast forward. Or, I'd hate for you to unfollow, because I think that we have good advice here and that it's important to know what's coming. But if that bothers you, then it bothers you. And just like the people that don't want to see what's happening and I kind of do this and move on, I am here to be Good Patriot, Katie. And Katie is a Christian, and she's going to be shouting Jesus until her dying breath. Moving on, for people with a normal home in a subdivision with no basement and no outbuildings and an HOA that frowns upon 55-gallon drums in the yard, what is the best place or way to store food and water? And then there's also a person that asked a question about prepping supplies and food and water and stuff in an apartment that was around 1,200 square feet with limited space. So first off, HOAs, screw your HOA. Sorry. It's just, if they're going to be feeding you and giving you water when the stuff hits a fan, then maybe I would consider listening to them. But if they're not, which 100% of HOAs aren't, you do what you have to do in order to feed your family. So I would, you don't have to make it like blatantly obvious that you have 55-gallon drums of water. Maybe put them in the shade and in the side of your house or your garage. Excuse me. But don't listen to your HOA on stupid things like that. It's the same thing with y'all that said that, oh, my city doesn't allow me to collect rainwater. I'm sorry. God's raining down rain and they don't allow you to collect it? That's insane. Don't listen to stupid laws like that. Next, storage space on all these supplies. I totally get it. You have to get creative with shelving. You need to get rid of junk in your house that you don't use that's taking up space so you can make room. It's just, that's a little sacrifice that people have. My cat's throwing up. Oh, buddy. Sorry. But also, if you are going to be hunkering down in your place, then yes, definitely make room in any way possible. But I also want y'all to be thinking about living as a community. So chances are you may have to leave your home anyway. And so if you have plans with your trusted group of friends or going to another property, then consider, as long as you 1000% trust these people, storing some supplies at that location that you plan to go to anyway. Okay, I'd love it if you could possibly do a video dealing with all the sadness so many of us feel right now. I find I'm filled with more and more sadness, even anger, at all the apathy, laziness, compromise, and downright stupidity of so many in the world around me, especially the churches. I know that you've been sad also, so I hope to hear how you work through it. So personally, it took me about 8 months to get out of the funk of anger and frustration. From week 1 of the shutdown, I knew after 1 week that something wasn't right, and decided to socialize normally and live my life normally. And that was great, but that meant I was also waking up each and every morning just in disbelief and like utter frustration. Have y'all ever seen that kid on YouTube where he's like coming out of anesthesia and he's in the backseat of his dad's car and his dad's kind of filming him, and it's hilarious, but the kid's like, is this real life? And his dad's like, yeah, buddy, this is real life. And he like gets out of his chair and he's like, ah! Like he just like screams and then slumps back in his chair. Just, I don't know. That scene in that YouTube video is literally how I felt every single morning for 8 months. And then I just kind of said, okay, I guess this is it. I guess this is what we're dealing with. And God chose me to be in this time. And I'm going to do what I can do, and I'm not going to worry and fear the things that I can't control. So, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, China and the Taliban, and they're doing this, and I can't control China and the Taliban. I'm not even going to worry about it. But what I can control is prepping and getting my network together and being in the Word and acting in wisdom and not fear. If I need a break, then I take a break. Yeah, a lot of y'all know that I haven't been posting as much as I did last year, and it is what it is. Like, if I need to help somebody in my life, then I'm going to help somebody instead of working. And same with prepping. If I can't freeze dry something for 4 days, then that's what it is, and I just gotta let go and do what God has placed in front of me for that day. You want to stay in the day and not go beyond that sometimes, because we're not meant to handle more than a day at a time. About a month ago, I took a week off social media and I didn't miss a thing. I didn't watch one video. I didn't want to know anything that was going on. Like, my mom was texting me news and this and that, and I'm like, Ma, I am on a fast from all this junk. I don't want to see anything. And you know what? I didn't miss anything, and nobody missed me. So it was great. And so don't be afraid just to take time off from something that you feel is weighing too heavily on you. And same with people that do the same. I'm sure my videos are kind of heavy for people. That's why I'm always trying to make you laugh in between of the craziness. But nothing beats a good cry. And if you find yourself alone in your house for 20 minutes, I highly recommend just pouring out your heart to God and telling Him all the things you're angry about, all the things that aren't fair, or all the people that piss you off. Like, just lay it on them, and I guarantee you that you will feel better. Alrighty. Amen, buddy. How many rounds per caliber do you suggest stocking? I was thinking 1,000, but not sure. I think 1,000 is a nice start. If your budget allows it, I don't know, everyone's situation is going to be so different, but I would think it in terms of ammo is also going to be currency, and there is going to be rising inflation as well, so the prices of everything is going to go up. So if you can buy everything now and lock in those prices, I think that would be a very wise thing to do. And ammo is a very tradable thing, like I said. It's going to be highly sought after. And so I would do what your budget would allow for that. I don't think you have to go crazy and get like 30,000 rounds or anything. But I think that you should do more than 1,000. So everyone's so different. I don't really want to put a number on that, but that would be my advice. Also look at it as a bartering item as well. All right, next question is, what gun do you conceal carry and how do you carry it? I carry the SIG P365 and I carry it in the appendix position in a sticky holster. Usually I have a belt or tighter pants because this is a retention holster. It's basically like a wetsuit material. It's very comfortable. I've had this thing. I literally have used it every day for the last 3 years and it barely has any wear and tear. Thank God it's black. I can't imagine how much sweat this thing has soaked up. I know that's disgusting. Sorry, but this is hashtag real life. But super comfortable holster, and you do want to have retention with it, so you want to make sure that your belt line or your waistline is tight, so it's pressed against your body and it's not going to fall out in any way. But and I do have a discount code for sticky holsters. It's Good Patriot, and that will get you 10% off. And here is the SIG P365. I like it. I've tried many different compact guns to carry, Hellcat, Kimber Micro. I like them all, but this one I love because I feel like it's the most comfortable for a woman's hands. I actually did a review with my friend Alex. You can find that on my YouTube channel. It's the SIG P365 versus the Hellcat. And you can check that out. And also, if I, for some reason, am wearing like a tighter shirt and I'm going to be printing too much, and for you new shooters, printing means that, like, you know, your gun's basically sticking out and obvious. In Texas, sometimes I don't care and I just do it anyway because it's just different here in the country. But if that's the case and I can't carry on my person, I have these cheap little vinyl purses I got like 3 years ago on Amazon. I bought like 3 colors, and basically I carry just like credit cards and stuff in the front pocket, and then in the main pocket it perfectly fits my gun. And so I won't be carrying anything in that pocket except my gun. No keys or anything to snag the trigger. The safety's on usually anyway, but I will carry this cross body so it's not easily taken off my shoulder. Now we'll carry that in the appendix front position as well, just so I have easy access to it. Alright, my request for new video content would be in the direction of forming a community, or more importantly, finding a group to join. And what they're talking about is having a trusted group, core group of people that you, when stuff hits the fan, that you do life with and that you help and support one another. And I did an entire video on this already. It's called How to Fight Back Part 2, Your Army. And I go into why you need a group, how to form a group, the things you should talk about in your group. And then at the end of the video, I talk about how you can go to my newsletter and downloads page on my website, goodpatriot.com. You need a password to access that page. So, one or two choices. One, you can go and just subscribe to my email list and you will be sent that password. Or I'll just give it to you right now because I want people to have the information. It's all capital Old Glory. So that will get you into that page, and then you find the little box that says Prepping Special. Click on it and you will find a ton of information on resources on how to find a group, skills that you should be learning within your group, and a bunch of good stuff. Alright guys, you had a bunch of questions about freeze drying. So basically you wanted to know what the whole process looks like, the difference between a freeze dryer and a dehydrator, and then the best way to freeze dry food and then store it after. So basically, and I will show an example of this, hopefully I'll edit it in. I'm freeze drying some watermelon right now and I'll show you that process from start to finish. But the difference between a dehydrator and a freeze dryer is big. A dehydrator is a plastic box with a little fan that basically takes out about 70% of the moisture of food. So it makes food last longer, but not freeze-dried longer. Freeze-drying takes the moisture out of food up to like 98%. And so it can last anywhere from 10 to 25 years. You can freeze-dry a lot more foods. Like you can't dehydrate certain meats, or you can't dehydrate, you know, things, because when you dehydrate, you're like shrinking down into like fruit leather and like beef jerky, like stuff like that. But freeze drying is actually maintaining, for the most part, like the original nutritional content and shape and flavor and most of the time texture of food. So if I freeze dry a banana, it's going to look like a banana slice. If I dehydrate a banana slice, it's going to look like a shriveled little booger. So the freeze dryer is much more complex. It's got the ability to freeze. It's like it looks like a small washing machine with a vacuum chamber. It's got the ability to freeze, vacuum, dry. It has a computer system in it that leads you step by step and monitors the moisture content of the food and lets you know when it's done, and timer and this and that. It comes with an oil pump attached to the machine that it runs through the machine to cool it and help it run. It's like, it's 100 pounds and it's a extensive big appliance, whereas a dehydrator is a more simple machine with a fan, maybe a little heater in a plastic box. Very different results. I'm pro both of them. I just chose freeze drying because I wanted to be able to preserve whatever food I wanted to, and I can basically preserve 95% of the foods I eat. And I have food allergies, and so I wanted to make my own organic, lovely food. And so far the investment has already paid for itself. It wasn't sponsored or sent to me. I bought it on my own with my own hard-earned money, and I couldn't be happier with it. I think that it was a great investment for the future and what's coming, and it also allows me the ability to make meals for just regular evenings when I don't want to cook. And what else? Oh, so packaging, I'm going to show you that video from start to finish in just a second, but also the last question was how the best way to store your freeze-dried food. You could do two options. You could put it in glass mason jars and kind of use either an attachment or put it in your freeze dryer and vacuum seal the lids on there with an oxygen absorber inside. Or you can do the same with like those silver Mylar bags. You put the food in there with an oxygen absorber. The freeze dryer comes with a sealer and some bags with it. You'll heat seal it so it's closed shut, and then you just put it away in a cool, dry place, and you are good to go. So here is that video on watermelon from start to finish. Alright y'all, so I cut up watermelon yesterday. I have never freeze-dried watermelon, but I hear that it's good, and then I froze it overnight. And now I'm going to put it in my machine. And the machine, I turned it on, and basically what it's going to do here, it says load food into freeze dryer and close the drain valve. So I'm going to come over here, and I close this little valve, and that allows the vacuum seal. I'm going to take this insulated little pad here and put it over. Sorry for my filming, I don't have my hubby here to help me out here. Then I'm going to close this, seal it tight, and push continue. So this is the medium-sized machine with the standard oil pump. Right now we're in Texas in September, so I have a fan kind of oscillating back and forth over the oil pump in the machine just to keep it a little bit cool. Because as you can see right here, it says high room temperature batch processing times may be longer. That's just going to add a couple hours to your freeze drying time, but it's no big deal. So watermelon took a long time. When I came out here this morning, it's been about 30 hours, and it says process complete, open tray bell to bend. So we come over here. That will release the vacuum seal. And we're going to check out our watermelon. Alright, feels like it's done. The food is done and fully dried. It's going to ask me, do I want no defrost? That means you just turn off the machine and it has an ice layer in it. I don't know if you guys can see that in there. So you can either just leave it open to defrost on its own, or you can push defrost to have the machine warm and melt all that ice, or you can add more dry time if you feel like your food isn't done yet. And I'm going to do no defrost. And then it's going to stop. And I'm going to take my food out and package it up. One thing I forgot to mention is this drain valve that we've been opening and closing goes down, and what we did is we just have an empty water bottle, so that ice is going to melt and that water is going to go somewhere. You don't want it to spill all over your garage or wherever you have your machine, so we just put the tube in there and it drains in there, and then we water our plants with it. Y'all, this is our watermelon. It has shrunk down a bit just because watermelon is like 97% water. There's basically just a sugar shell left. It tastes like concentrated watermelon. It's super sweet, like watermelon candy. This was the first time I did this as an experiment. I probably wouldn't do it again because it takes like 30 hours in the freeze dryer, and I'd just rather spend my freeze dryer time doing other foods that I think would be like more nutritionally dense. But I think it would be a really fun snack for kids, and I've already put some in a mason jar, and I'll probably eat this within the next few weeks, so I'm not going to bother vacuum sealing the lid. If I wanted to store it long term, I would though. So a fun experiment, but yeah. Anyway, so I wanted to show you quickly a couple other things that I've done. Like these are strawberries, and you can see I sliced them up and they pretty much retain their size and everything, and they're super delicious and they store long term really, really well. Let's see, we've got grass-fed organic whole milk, freeze dried it, and grinded it down in the blender into a powder, and I can just add water and have milk ready to go. And same thing with scrambled eggs. These were raw scrambled eggs, and basically you blend it up into a powder after you freeze dry it. You take 1 tablespoon of egg, add 2 tablespoons of water to it, and that's equal to 1 egg, and then cook it up. Really great if you have chickens and a lot of excess eggs. I did roasted squash and made them into squash chips, which are delicious, and the same with asparagus. And then I wanted to show y'all some more hearty things that I've done. Well, I wouldn't say brownies are hearty, but I made gluten-free brownies and have these for the apocalypse for my mental health. Gotta have some chocolate. Took gluten-free pizza, sliced it up into little bite-sized pieces, and freeze-dried it. That's gonna be a really good snack. It's Texas apocalypse. You can't go out without barbecue, so I've got pulled pork here that we made and freeze-dried, and then some meaty marinara sauce that I've mentioned before. And then I put a little apocalypse message that says, if you hurt us to get this food, you will be judged. I'm just saying. So I put my watermelon in my Mylar bag, and I'm basically gonna gently press out all the air I can. And then I have these zipper top bags from Azure Standard that make it easier, because then I can just zip it up. If you don't have a zipper top bag, what I would do at this point is fold it over and then put it in my heat sealer. And real quick, these are the bags I got. They're the zipper top 5.25 mil 8x10 1 quart bags. And again, I'll put the link in the comment below the video. So you're gonna come over to your heat sealer, and this baby comes with your freeze dryer when you buy it. And you're just gonna push down until the red light goes off. And then I like to do 2 seals. And then you're gonna take a Sharpie, write what's in the bag and the date that you put it in there, and you're good to go. Store it in a cool, dry place, and you're all set. One more quick thing I forgot to mention is that I am constantly posting me freeze drying different foods to my Instagram stories, and I have a highlight in my Instagram profile called freeze drying where you can see me making all this stuff. And then I'm also going to be trying to get those videos onto another platform like Rumble or BitChute. I don't think I want to saturate my YouTube channel with those, but I will be trying to get out that content so you guys can see that too if you're not on Instagram. Right, y'all, do you think people and Christians should be running for office, school board, etc., or do you think it's a waste of time? If indeed this is the end times, wouldn't it be wiser to just prepare or to go gray man? Absolutely, 1000% we should be running for local offices. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. I do think that we are going into the end times, but we don't know exactly how long that's going to take. And even if it's, you know, the beginning of it is 2 years away, 1 year away, or 10 years away, we still have time in the interim, and we fight while we can. So this isn't a fatalist thing of like, oh, we're going to be raptured one. That's why, huge reason why I don't like the pre-tribulation rapture theory that a lot of people are holding on to in hopes because they don't want to go through really hard times. It's also very, it's almost like the Q theory. It's like, well, someone else is going to take care of the problem, so we don't have to do anything hands off. We're just going to sit and wait. Right now, number one priority, you are to be a light in the darkness and bringing people to Christ. And we are supposed to be vigilantly fighting for our values. And we do that in public office and school board and all that good stuff in the meantime. And you can be gray man too at the same time. I mean, you can do it all. Just do it wisely and don't overwhelm yourself. If you would like to give unbiased information about the jab, it would be greatly appreciated. It's impossible for me to give unbiased information about the jab because I have been studying jabs for over 10 years. It's one of the main reasons that I moved out of California. It was for jab freedom. And I am absolutely 1000% against this jab because its sole purpose is to control the population through it. So this whole shutdown, this whole was all about control. And their main goal was to get that jab passport going so they could control the population. 2, tens of thousands of people have already died from it. And you're not going to hear that on our mainstream news. And also, 3, sorry, I'm going on tangents here, but there's so much in my mind right now. Israel, the UK, they're all reporting that more jabbed people are in the hospital with severe cases of the thingy than the unjabbed. And here, it's the opposite numbers. There's a disconnect there. But guess what? Our media are the liars, the biggest liars on the face of the earth. And so I would believe the reports coming out of Israel and UK saying that the most hospitalizations are coming from the jabbed and not the unjabbed than I would the opposite here with our media. This jab is also causing really horrible side effects in people. You don't know how your body's going to react. Health is everything. Remember the last time you were really sick and remember what that felt like. I want to protect my health and my freedom at all costs, and that's why I will never subscribe to the mask mandates, and I will never subscribe to this controlling piece of diabolical crap jab that they are promoting. How can we gracefully and in love respect people's fears and unspoken boundaries in social circumstances? Is there a way or even a need to tell anyone we are not jabbed before showing up at their house? And what would be the respectful thing to do? This woman went to a house of a group of ladies was meeting, and it turns out that the host contacted her after and said, oh my gosh, I didn't know that you were not jabbed. You know, kind of like, why didn't you tell me? And so she was wanting to know, how do I go about in a nice way telling her, you know, sorry or not sorry. My answer would be not sorry. If she is so concerned about being around people that are not jabbed, then she should take it upon herself. It's her responsibility to reach out to the people coming to her home to ask them that question. And then it's up to you if you want to give her that private information or make the decision whether or not to show up at her house. That's individual. And yes, I always recommend saying it in love. Personally, if someone said that they didn't want me to be around them because I was unjabbed, then I would do the whole, great, I wish you the best, and move on with the friends that love me and know what's going on. I'm going to start blazing through these questions because you see this right here. This is the sun, and when the sun gets closer to me, I'm going to literally melt. So I'm going to, short answers here. I'm wondering whether your group or community has developed a framework for forming smaller support groups, and if so, can you share your thoughts? Yes, again, that video on forming your network, but also once you have your network, we are starting to branch out and meeting with other groups, and right now we are establishing a local network and resource list of things like people that won't care if you're jabbed or not. Mechanics, doctors, dentists, ranchers, farmers, feed suppliers, veterinarians, things like that. we are going out in the community and talking to people that we know, who are we think that are like-minded, and basically establishing a list of people that we can go to when they start telling people that they are no longer allowed to serve people that are unjabbed. So that is our goal right now, and then we will move on from there. If we're stocking up for a what-if scenario, when others in our town want the food and water we have stocked up, in other words, are we actually supposed to protect our resources from predators once they find out that our house on such and such street still has food and water? It's not like the two of us can guard our food 24/7, right? Right. Absolutely, you will have to protect your property and what you have. That is why that you don't discuss what you have with people you don't know. And I wouldn't even discuss what you have in detail with people that you kind of know, maybe regular friends. I would only reserve that information for your trusted core network. Loose lips sink ships. Sorry, can you tell my blood sugar is getting low? And also, this is why you group up in community, and you either, when the stuff hits the fan, all go to a property and you share and you live together so you can protect it, because it will be very hard to protect a property with just two people. I definitely recommend talking to your neighbors if you trust them and forming some sort of alliance or plan for when stuff goes south. And remember power in numbers. And somebody else asked, you know, is it best to live in a community where people share and everything? Yeah, absolutely. I am all for people buying land together and then making their separate houses on that land. Or if someone has a huge house, you know, and they're willing to share it with you, wonderful. Again, that's all about making sacrifices and doing things that are not normal, you know, for us privileged Americans. But the times call for them, and those are the things that we're going to have to do. And so yes, absolutely. I love when people tell me that they've bought land with family or friends and that they're going to share it and have a community garden and chickens and a cow or two. Yes. If all power and gas is interrupted, can meals still be mixed with water and eaten cold? I'm assuming you mean freeze-dried food, and yes, absolutely. And yes, you will be eating cold food, and that will be the least of our problems. Alright, y'all, my computer, my camera, and my body are overheating, so I'm going to call it a quits for the day. I promise you I'll get to more of your questions shortly. Thank you so much for joining me, and remember to sign up for my email list at goodpatriot.com, and I will see you again soon. Thanks so much. I'm Good Patriot. God bless.